Okay, welcome back to part 2. Today, in this video, this section, we're going to be talking about trend lines. What is a trend line and how do we do one by hand? Those are the big questions. So, trend line is a line that kind of predicts what's going to happen and kind of approximates the data. We can only use trend lines if the data appears linear. And we cannot, let me color this one, box it. We cannot play dot to dot. And I'll talk more about that here in just a second. So in the first part of this video, we created this graph, right? You should remember this from the first part of the video. Let me focus. There you go. First part of the video, we created this. And we were asked to kind of approximate what velocity this car was traveling at or find the slope of this data. So our first question is, does the data appear linear? And here's our data set down here just in case we need it. The first question is, does the data appear linear? So let's go ahead and put this ruler kind of next to it. I would say that data appears roughly linear. There's no real big curve to it or anything. It looks like it kind of follows this line. I know I'm covering up some of the data, but it looks like it's roughly linear. And the thing we don't want to do is we do not want to play dot to dot. So what does that mean? Let me go with a different. Let me go with pencil. So some people want to do this, and they want to connect this dot up to here, and then this one to this dot, like this. That's dot to dot. That doesn't really tell us much of anything about what's really happening here. That's only guessing what's happening between those points, and really, having a crazy curve like that is not very helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and erase this. Make sure we don't do that, because that's not really that helpful. The other thing people want to do is they just want to connect these two dots like that. I drew it super light, so you're not able to see it. But some people just want to connect the dots like that. That is also not really what we want to do, because we don't know if necessarily those two dots are on the line, if they're actually correct to what's actually happening. What we really want to do is make a guess. We want to make a guess as to what the midpoint of this kind of cluster would be. So I'm going to just suggest a guess, and then we're going to look and see if that works. So let me see. I think this looks pretty good. I'm going to draw a pencil first. And you should do all of your graphing in pencil. I'm just doing it in Sharpie so that you can see it a little better. Let's look at that graph. Does that look good? I would say it looks pretty good, because about half the dots are above and half the dots are below. It kind of goes through the middle of that. And this is all just by eye. So really there is a science to how you do it in a computer. But for right now, since we're doing it by hand, it's all just kind of guessing. So I'm actually going to go over this in a Sharpie, just so we can see that better. I know I'm out of the frame. Let me move up. There we go. I'm just going to go over this in Sharpie. We're going to talk more about how we can analyze this trend line in the next video. But this was just how you draw a trend line. So let's circle back. Let me zoom out and show you the whole thing. Okay, we got this graph and we're talking about trend lines. So, first thing we asked ourselves was, does the data appear to be linear? And I would say it does, so I'm going to give this one a big blue check mark. And the second thing we want to do is we want to not play dot to dot. And we didn't play dot to dot. We actually didn't connect any of the dots, which isn't always the case. Sometimes there will be dots to connect, but we just don't want to just kind of pinball between them like this. Okay, come on back for the third video, and in the third video we're going to talk about how do you find the slope and how do you analyze these graphs. So see you there. Later.